Good morning. We are live on YouTube. We're going to bring in our Facebook communities too. That's Atlanta Falcons fans on All Falcons and Scott Kennedy Sports. Want to make sure that everything's going good for y'all today. And welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast on Friday. Nick is still not with us. And now, you know what? I didn't want to do coast to coast if it was just one coast. So y'all have been killing it on the Falcons Podcast. And I said, I want to talk Falcons this morning with my Atlanta Falcons family here in Atlanta. I am in Atlanta, waiting for the rain to come down again today. Might wash out some baseball and stuff. But you know what? We've got free agency opening this weekend. Now, I know it doesn't technically open until Tuesday, I think, at 4 o'clock. But the contact period opens up at noon, and that's when deals start getting announced. It's yes, I'm committed to the Atlanta Falcons, but I can't sign until Tuesday. Okay, so be it. So they call it the legal tampering period. I think that's an oxymoron. So I call it the contact period. The contact period begins at noon on Sunday, and that's when you hear, okay, the Atlanta Falcons have agreed to terms with, and they will sign on Tuesday. That stuff happens all the time. So as far as I'm concerned, the free agency period opens at noon on Sunday when we start getting some news. And frankly, as you know, there's been discussions with agents and all that type of stuff leading up well before Sunday's contact period opens. It's just now they're allowed to talk about it publicly. So we go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday because I like having the conversation with y'all and the interaction and the questions that you have. And I'm just not up here monologuing. Well, too much anyway. At least it's a Q&A session. So I want to say hello to some folks that came in nice and early. John Harrell comes in, one of the benefactors of our show, and racing John Harrell. He says, good morning, happy Friday, Scott and the Falcons family. If we can get edge Danielle Hunter from the Minnesota Vikings, what would you do at 8? John, it would still have to do with, my quarterback situation. If I don't have a quarterback going in, I'm probably targeting J.J. McCarthy at 8. I would hope that he falls down into that area. I think he's a chance. I think there's a chance that 4 quarterbacks could go in the top 7. It's slight, but I think it's possible. And if you're watching this again, and you left me a comment, when we did our mock draft, I said, yes, we're going into this assuming that we have a quarterback. And, the other part of it was when we do PFF's mock draft simulator, I think they drastically underrank Jaden Daniels. So I kind of ignore him. So I would have gone with Jaden Daniels in this spot. Yeah, so would I. I would too. I agree with you. And I go through the comments. So if you have any questions or clarity you want, leave me comments. I love the discussion. I'll answer them all the time. I don't care who you got. Even if you sign Kirk Cousins, you don't pass on Jaden Daniels. Yeah, I'm with you. I am. But my thought going into this is PFF's is unrealistic. Jaden Daniels isn't going to be there at 8. We could take Jaden Daniels at 8 every single time. And if I knew I could get Jaden Daniels at 8, we wouldn't be talking about Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields or anything. I'd be talking Jaden Daniels at 8. Early, as part of that show, I also talked about, yes, I'd be willing to do the athletic trade of 2025 first rounder and number 8. And I think there was like a pick swap in there. There was one more pick in there, maybe a third, and then you get a third back or something for Jaden Daniels. Yes, I would do that deal right now if I knew I could get Jaden Daniels. But the Patriots aren't going to do that deal. That's not enough to move up into the top 3. They will get more from somebody else. To answer your question, what would you do at 8? I'd probably target J.J. McCarthy. I think that might be the best if I need my quarterback. But I don't know that you're going to get a really, the premium free agents in bulk that the Falcons were able to get last year. If you're definitely without a quarterback yet. So while if you trade for Justin Fields, I think you'll have better luck in free agency. If you sign Kirk Cousins, it limits you more in free agency, but it would be easier to get a premier guy, I believe. So if you get Hunter, I don't know that you can get Hunter without the quarterback first, though. That's what it comes down to. But let's say we're playing Madden, I'd probably go McCarthy or the Russ and option that we've talked about. Russ and McCarthy, Russ and someone else in there. So that's where I would probably go. Justin Brigham, he comes in, he says, good morning, Falcons fans. Need to trade for Fields, sign Fuller and Hunter, draft a cornerback at 8 and a receiver in the second round. If you sign Hunter, it lessens the need at edge. But I still think, Justin, you need two edges for this team. You're going in, you could probably re-sign Lorenzo Carter. I think he's probably a free agent again. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like he keeps signing one-year deals. I need to double check on that. Then you've got Arnold Ebiketie, who is a number 2 at best right now, probably a number 3. And I think I'm almost positive Carter's a free agent, a pending free agent. So, Lorenzo Carter's one. And then you haven't seen a thing from D'Angelo Malone, unfortunately. I really like that draft pick. I think he was a bottom of the 3rd type pick. So honestly, Justin, I'm not opposed to guys at edge. Have you ever, when's the last time Falcons fans you're able to say, oh no, we can't do that. We have too many pass rushers. Yeah. We can't do that. We have too many pass rushers. When's the last time you said that? When's the last time you thought that? Never. Wouldn't that be? I would love to try that luxury on for size, see how it fits. We have to get rid of one of these guys, see if we can trade away. We got too many guys sacking the quarterback. So I'm with you, though, Justin. I think cornerback is a legit option at 8. But if you like Dallas Turner, if you like Jared Verse equally to one of the corners, I'm still probably going edge there, even if I get Turner. Apologies, even if I get Hunter. My Swanker comes in. He asks, what does it cost to get Khil Mack in a trade? Saw this one coming in. Khil Mack, he's coming in. He's got a he's a restructure candidate or a move on candidate. He's got a $38.5 million cap hit in 2024, and with a base salary of $17.5. His dead cap hit is 15.3 for the Chargers. So if they were to cut him, they'd save $23 million. They don't want to do that. That said, he's 33 years old, coming off a good season. If you're willing to pick up the full freight of 17.5, you might be able to get him for a second-round pick. You might be if you picked up his full salary. You want to spend a second-round pick on a 33-year-old rental and $17 million? I don't know if that's the right move for this team because there's really no long-term in there. Now, you can make the same argument. Well, then why would I get Kirk Cousins? Okay, I'm listening. Because you can play quarterback for 3-4 more years and see how that goes. Now, you think the Von Miller trade, when the Rams traded for Von Miller, they sent them a second and a third. Now, you can flip which one you think it was worth, but they sent let's say they traded a second for Von Miller. The Broncos picked up his entire salary for the rest of that year. And they threw in a 3rd-round pick. So it was basically traded him for a second and then bought a 3rd-round pick. So that'd be negotiable where it comes in. The problem is for the dead cap's not so bad. I don't know why. That's so odd that he's got such a huge, I guess he's got a previous restructure bonus. That's where it comes in of 15.3, which is his dead cap number. So his restructure bonus is on there. So they could cut him and basically not owe him anything but the restructure bonus. Want to say hello to some folks that have come in with some support for the show. Silas Draven comes in with a super chat. And I'll be honest with you guys, this is one of the reasons I'm here today. I was going to take a morning off, but the support for the show has been so overwhelming. I'm like, we got to do a Falcons podcast right now. It might be some of the things that it can be a primer. It can be a preview. Some of the things we've talked about a lot. That's okay. With guys like Silas, Oblivion Empire coming in with a super chat, Justin, Michael Ranquillo, all y'all coming in and everything you've done for the show. It makes sure that, sometimes I said this is kind of like working out. I don't feel like doing this. And then once you get here, you feel great because of folks like you. So thank you so much. Oblivion Empire says, just a few days away from the official contact period. Let's go rise up and have a great weekend. Yeah, what are we, 51 hours away from news actually being legally, it's not against the law, against the rules, from the rules allowed to start, coming in and talking these things? Yeah, we will. So we're going to talk about some of the top prospects that you can go and get, including the 2 I put on the cover of this one, Danielle Hunter and Justin Simmons. Shea Ellison comes in. He says, if we sign Cousins, what are some other all-in moves we could make for this year and 2025? Shay, that's a great question. And I think you can get, it's like, well, and that's one of the things. Now, you notice at the beginning when I said Cousins, it limits what you're able to do. It doesn't wipe it out. Now, if I sign Cousins, everybody's going to lose their mind when they hear Cousins' contract, period. And I'm not saying with the Atlanta Falcons, I'm just saying around the league. It's a 3-year, $150 million contract. Okay, what's the guaranteed money? That ends up being $50 million a year. What's the guaranteed money? If it's 50, which is the average, then it's a 1-year deal. It's a 1-year deal worth $50 million with 2 club options. If it's $100 million, it's a 2-year deal. If it's somewhere in between there, and the number I've said is 70, then it's kind of iffy. It's like a 1.5-year deal. Yes, he's getting some money and this is a risk we're taking, but we're going to have to take on a decent dead cap hit if we move on after 1 year. But a 3-year deal, let's say you sign him to a 3-year deal, give him $40 million in signing bonus. I'm going to make it $30 million just to do the math easy. $30 million signing bonus, $50 million in guaranteed money. That would be $30 million this year. 20 million guaranteed salary, and then I'm doing the math wrong. $20 million in guaranteed salary, $30 million signing bonus, and I can put 10, 10, and 10 across those other 2 seasons. So I'm taking a $30 million cap hit. The Falcons will have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 by the time all is said and done. Right now it says 41, but they can still push that up. So they take a hit on that. They still have $20 million to spend. And you can restructure a guy. Let's say you get a younger guy. Let's say I go Danielle Hunter and I give him a 5-year deal with $75 million guaranteed with a $50 million signing bonus. Now I can have his base salary be $5 million, that $50 million across 5. Now his first initial hit is considerably less. So with Arthur Blank and his willing to spend money, longer deals with more signing bonus stretched across more years for younger guys makes sense. We talk about Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates last year, he got a big deal. Jesse Bates' cap hit last year was only 13.7. That was actually fairly high. That's sorry. It bounces on you. Do you hate that when you go to a site and you go to click and then the ad pops up and it froggers you down a line? Jesse Bates, I'm like, I didn't think he had that big of a cap hit in year 1. He didn't. That was Lindstrom. So this is what I'm talking about. Jesse Bates signs a 4-year, $64 million contract last year, including 36 guaranteed. So that comes out to 16 a year. That ends up really being a 2-year deal. It's a 2-year deal that with 2 years of club option. Jesse Bates' base salary last year was $1.1 million. That's it. The rest was signing bonus, roster bonus. So his cap hit last year was just $9.5 million, despite a 16 million average. Now it escalates to 17.5, then 18.5, then 18.5 in the other years. But guess what? Salary cap goes up too. It went up a lot this year, right? So you can take that initial cap hit and lower it. And then if you're willing to eat some dead money down the line, you can have a really low initial cap hit. So you can go get some guys, as long as Arthur Blank's willing to spend the money in signing bonuses and come out of pocket with cash. And guess what? Arthur Blank has done that historically through the years. Thomas Dimitroff wasted hundreds of millions of dollars of Arthur Blank's money on signing bonuses. So Danielle Hunter is a big one for me. If you sign Cousins, do you have the money to get Danielle Hunter? Yeah, you could still do that. You just have to you'd need the signing bonus money and not just the guaranteed salary from Arthur Blank. And he has done that. Justin Simmons becomes a very viable option. Now, is he looking for maybe a step over the Falcons? Somebody that's a little bit closer to competing right now. I think the Falcons could be a playoff team, but how well would he fit with the Detroit Lions? The Detroit Lions could be a Pro Bowl safety away from playing in the Super Bowl. That's not crazy. How about the Philadelphia Eagles, where he played with Vic Fangio in Denver? So it might be hard, but he's coming off, well, if he's any good, I think somebody just kind of said this tongue in cheek. Why would they waive him? Because he had an $18 million cap hit this year, and they saved $15 million. Denver Bronco needed $15 million more in this year's salary cap, more than they needed a Pro Bowl safety. That's 4 or 5 guys. Falcons fans, you know what I'm talking about here. Do you need, for what was it, 2021? I said there's like 5 NFL guys on the roster. Give me $15 million and I can plug in 5 more legit NFL starters on this roster. So Justin Simmons becomes a very interesting target. Can they get him? I don't know. Can they afford him? Probably. I think he comes somewhere in that 5 to 7 million range when he signs a new contract on the open market as a 31-year-old safety, and it's a non-premium position. You spend money on Jesse Bates because Jesse Bates is 26 years old. Justin's older, means you're less valuable, and frankly, Jesse Bates is a better safety at this point than Justin Simmons. But you put them together, and you're got something. If I'm able to take all of the snaps that Richie Grant got in 2023 and plug Justin Simmons in for him, it was a fun defense to watch last year. It'd be a really fun defense. Good luck throwing on those guys. Good gracious. That could be a lot of fun. And Silas, he did come in and says, "Good morning, everyone." Offers up some coffee. I'll drink to that. Lion coffee this morning, y'all. It's delicious. So our friend of the program, Patrick Wiltsey, check it out. Lioncoffee.com keeps us well caffeinated in the morning. So thank you. Again, check them out. It's not an official sponsor. It's just a guy that says, "Hey, y'all want some coffee?" I'm like, "Yeah," and we'll plug it. Thanks. So lioncoffee.com. Jeremy Sean says he's just stopping in to give a like and a comment for the algo. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate the support. F Refs took a good look at the cover photo of that I put up of Danielle Hunter, and he says, "I'd be drug testing one of these 2 guys." Yeah, Danielle Hunter, I look at that guy and my initial thought is like, fatso. He's just jacked. I mean, he's built like an Olympic sprinter, except he's got the body of a defensive end, the frame of a defensive end. He's jacked. 16 and a half sacks last year. And how old is he? I think he's 28. Let me double check on that. Danielle Hunter, been in the league a while though, but he's 29 right now. So he'll turn 30 during the season. I'd be willing to give him 3 years of guaranteed money on a 5-year deal. So let's say he ends up being a $20 million a year guy, 5-year, $100 million, 60 guaranteed. Yeah, I'd be willing to do that to get this guy. That'd be a 3-year deal. That means he starts his 3rd year of where you're really tied to him financially at 31 years old, plays into his 32-year-old season. Yeah, I'd do that. I wonder, he might even get a little bit more than that. Excuse me. It might be 5 years, $125 million, where he gets 25 a year. So it will be interesting to watch. Jeremy Billy 23, good to see you, sir. It feels like a newer name. Welcome in. Appreciate you joining this morning. Says, "Go get Justin Fields, Simmons, and draft Turner." Dude, I'm with you. And the thing is, if you do those things, if I go get Justin Fields and I sign Justin Simmons and I draft Dallas Turner, did my team get better? Yeah, it did. I still have probably $35 million to play with. Now I'm looking at cornerback too. Now I'm looking at edge. Now I'm looking at wide receivers. Now, we talk about, I've gotten some comments. I posted our mock draft separately and gotten a bunch of comments onto there. And I saw someone come in and say, I think we need to come out of this draft with 2 receivers. Yeah, I'm good with that. You use a receiver 2nd and 3rd round. I'm hesitant to go receiver at number 8 just because there's so many good receivers in this draft. I feel like you're missing an opportunity to get one of those difference makers on defense, especially at edge rusher, that you just haven't ever had for more than a flash in the pan season. Homegrown. Jonathan Abraham was awesome, but he was a trade also. So yeah, I'm on board with this. When it comes to, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. What are your favorite options at quarterback? Kirk Cousins would make this Atlanta Falcons team better. They would have been a playoff team with Kirk Cousins last year. but it's going to hamper your ability to improve the team around him because of the cost, right? Matt Ryan, we saw that before. Matt Ryan was a good quarterback, but when you're paying top 5 money to a quarterback, it makes it hard to then supplement pieces around him, except with the draft. If I get Fields, the most his cap number is going to be is $3 million. If I get Russell Wilson and draft a day 2 guy, the most you're talking about is $4 million, $2 million for Russ and $2 million for your rookie quarterback. Now I've still got $40 million to play with and more after I do some creative work or, cut Taylor Heineke, etc. So I like the idea of getting a good quarterback on a lesser salary and building around him, unless you think Kirk Cousins is, that guy. And I don't think anybody here is convinced that he's that guy. We're not talking about, it's not the same thing to me as Matthew Stafford making that trade and paying him because of the age and the injury. So Jeremy, I'm good with this. You say I'm sending a third for Fields, and I signed Justin Simmons for $6 million a year on a 2-year deal for $6 million a year, and I draft Dallas Turner. You're just getting started. That's what's exciting about that. You're just getting started. Quentin Caldwell says good morning. He's in here. Afternoon, everyone, from Roderick. Want to say some quick hellos. 10 Cam 01, he's here. Says good morning. Xavier Littman is here as well. Mr. Jose R.A. So that looks like an unless you're, Portuguese, and it's Jose. So hopefully I got it right somewhere. Says good morning. Oh, there we go. Good morning, everyone, from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Jose. Love to you all. Go Falcons. Well, thanks for checking in, my friend. Great to see you. Very cool. Marley Atlanta says good morning with some coffee. Scott and Falcons fam, rise up. That's all, y'all. Cheers. I'll have some of that. Keep my whistle wet so I don't end up choking and coughing too much. Sip Thoughts says good morning, Scott and the Falcons fam. John St. Clair, good to see you. Brad, Leon. Jeremy Sean says the illegal tampering period has been going on since the end of the regular season. Jeremy, it goes on constantly. It's a constant thing. That's why you have agents. I'm allowed to talk to somebody's agent. I'm just not allowed to talk to him. So Jeremy, I'm not calling you. I'm talking to your agent. And you see it. It's so hilarious when you've got you see it in college coaching the most, because coaches will move from one place to the next place. It doesn't happen in the NFL. Very, very rarely where you get a coach, an active coach, or maybe a half a dozen times in history where a coach has made a lateral move. An active coach has made a move sideways that was under contract. It just doesn't happen very often. But in college, it's like, it'll be November. The coaching sweepstakes are heating up, and the Ole Miss coach is getting sniffed around by Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. He's like, I have not had any contact with anybody from any of those schools. My focus is 100% with the Ole Miss Rebels. Yeah, I have an agent. He's in contact with all those people. That's what they're for. So, yeah, the illegal tampering period is constant. It's constantly going on. That's why we have people. That's why we have people doing these things. Leon Mapstone, good morning. He says, good Friday, Scott. Hope all is well with you. Much better. That's for sure. Pamela Johnson, great to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. Anthony Shea is in. Leon Johnson says, only 3 minutes late. I think that was for me. I was a couple of minutes late. Wife's birthday was last night. Went out, in-laws are in town. So having some coffee talk this morning with my father-in-law, and was like, oh, I got to go. Austin Fries says, do you think Taylor Heineke will be a Falcon next year? That's an excellent question. I think there's a chance. That said, what are you willing to spend on your backup quarterback? Because you're not going into this thinking that he's going to be the guy. Taylor Heineke, you can save salary cap hit. I think it's 5 off the top of my head. Taylor Heineke is no, I do not think Taylor Heineke will be an Atlanta Falcon next year. He's on $9 million on his cap hit, and it's a $2 million dead cap. Remember we talking about just a few minutes ago about having $41 million and how I can get to 50? They'll probably get to 50. They get to 50 with that move. Stroke of the pen, and Taylor Heineke, who basically has, again, signed a 1-year deal. Look at the guaranteed money. Look at the average salary. And do some math and figure out what it is. It's like, oh, he signed a 2-year, $14 million contract with $7 million guaranteed. That's a 1-year, $7 million deal with a club option. $9 million cap hit against $2 million dead cap. Do the math. You save $7 million with Taylor Heinicke not on your roster in 2024. No, I do not think he will be an Atlanta Falcon. Do not. Keith and Ellen Johnson always coming in with some stars on Facebook. Thank you. Good morning, Scott. Do you think they keep Ritter as a backup, or would that be too disruptive for the new quarterback? This is also an excellent question. And I have no reason to think that Desmond Ritter would be a locker room distraction, but on his own, but just through osmosis, it'll be more of a distraction. So I think when a new quarterback comes in, I think you can bring in 2 new quarterbacks, and there's no existing cliques. There's none of the locker room drama. There's nothing in there. You're coming in trying to take a guy's job, frankly, taking a guy's job who's still there. Y'all have been in a workplace before. That's unhealthy. So, yes, you could keep Ritter as a backup. He's cheap. He's inexperienced. And people are like, oh, he stinks. Who cares? Most backup quarterbacks aren't any good, relatively speaking. So much emphasis is put into the starting quarterback. The backups, if you have to go to your backup quarterback, most of the time you're in trouble. I just could see him being moved as part of a pick swap or something, just to give him a fresh start. And the quarterback that comes in, a fresh start. Raheem Morris, a fresh start. All of those things would probably be good. I have nothing against Desmond Ritter if he ends up succeeding. I feel like they would try and move on from him, and it wouldn't cost much if they were just cut him. There's so many quarterback desperate teams out there that, why not do a pick swap? Here's a 6th and a 7th, one more year. So we'll see. But I think it's an excellent question with Heinicke. I think that if he's back, it's on half the money, maybe less than half the money. You take your $2 million dead cap hit and say, we'll offer you another 2. So he won't be back on that contract, but I don't really see. He was really good with Ritter. He's a great backup quarterback. He came in as a backup, worked as a backup. Even when he took over as a starter, he took a back seat in meetings and stuff to Ritter. He let Ritter continue to lead the offensive meetings. So that could keep him in the league and with the Falcons for a long, long, long time as a competent backup, willing to be that backup. Ritter shouldn't be content with being the backup. He's young. This is 1 year as a starter. He's got to be itching to go again. I want to get back out there. I want to prove that last year was more Arthur Smith than Desmond Ritter. So we'll see on that one. Michael, fire. Good to see you. Robbie Red as well. Good morning, Mr. Kennedy. Thank you. Good to see you as well. And Jeremy Sean, he's not on the Russ bandwagon, that's for sure. He says Russ ain't signing without some insurances. He won't be a mentor. Well, he's going to have somebody behind him regardless. So and the whole we need this guy to help mentor the next guy. That's kind of gravy. If I'm signing a quarterback like Russ, I want him to be the starter right away, more than likely, unless he gets beat out by my rookie. My coaching staff should be the mentor. And if I've got a third guy on a practice squad or whatever, and I understand what you're saying here. It's just, to me, I'm not going after Russell Wilson so he can train that's what I have coaches for. If I get Russ and, the whole idea of Russ and, then I do it with the idea that Russell's probably going to be my starter because he's a better quarterback option at the moment. And if it doesn't work out, so be it. It doesn't cost me anything. But it's got to be Russ and. I'm not going into the season with Russell Wilson as my quarterback. I'm not going in with Russell Wilson and Desmond Ritter. No. I'll go in with Russell Wilson and a rookie, a rookie that I think could end up being a franchise quarterback. I have a sneeze coming on. I don't think I've ever done this on camera. So hopefully it'll go away. They never just go one at a time either. I usually have a 4 sneeze fit. I don't think I've ever had to do that on camera, but it's you see my eyes start twitching. That's why. Ghost up 06, good to see you. He says, just draft Dallas and hope he becomes half a Khalil. You wouldn't be. That's not a terrible idea either. Whereas Khil Mack in his career sacks. If I got half of Khalil Mack, he had sack seasons of 15, 11, 10 and a half, 12. And then last year, 17 was a career high, 32 years old. So when I said a 3-year guaranteed money, if I'd call it a 5-year deal, but 3 years of guaranteed money for Danielle Hunter, I would do that. Here's a reason why. Khalil Mack just had his career high in sacks at 17. And yes, I'd take 9. If I could get 9 sacks a year out of my number 8 pick, I'd probably be pretty happy with that. Mac Jones, good to see you. So good morning. Been listening on Apple Podcasts. Finally made it live. Well, great. Thank you for being here. Leave a review. The last time I had a review was like a year ago on those, and I know the numbers are coming up. You're awesome to listen to. Thank you. When you're talking about edge, would Bryce Huff be an option? Yes. The answer to that question is yes. Now, unless something has happened recently where he's been taken off the market, he's actually number 9. Edge rusher Bryce Huff is number 9 on ESPN's list of top free agents. Now, where is his contract coming off? Because if you're number 9 as an edge rusher, he's just 25 years old. He'll be 26 actually in next month. So he's young. He's coming off a rookie deal, it looks like. 1 year, $4 million contract that may have been on his rookie deal, but he's an unrestricted free agent right now. And the numbers he put up, considering that he is, a top 10 guy, but the thing on that is also they've got Chase Young really high, and I'm not on the Chase Young bandwagon nearly as much. We're talking about a 26-year-old edge rusher, 6'3", 2.5, 255, 10 sacks last year. Now, I would want to see more. Now, I know the numbers on this one, Mac. I know the numbers. I watched them a ton. I don't remember him really being the difference maker. So we've seen guys out there that basically stat pad. The Denver Broncos had a guy named Malik Reed. He led the team in sacks 2 years in a row. He had 8 sacks, and he's going to be a free agent. He was cleaning up on coverage sacks. He wasn't beating his guy, but he was in soccer, we kind of call it cherry picking. He's a poacher. He's not beating the guy in front of him, but he's got a good motor. And then within the next year, as he's a free agent, he goes for a pick swap too. It's like we're sending Malik Reed in a 7th to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 6th-round pick, and then he ends up on the Steelers practice squad, can't even make it in the NFL. So I don't want to go out and say this guy's a monster. This is who you want, because when I watched the New York Jets, it was that interior defensive line that got my attention. And that makes an edge rusher's job a lot easier. That said, I think the Atlanta Falcons are pretty strong on the interior defensive line. If you've got if Grady Jarrett comes back 100%, even 90%, and then David Onyemata should free up some edge guys. So Bryce Huff, an option, yes. I'm not willing to say, to advocate for him the way I am for Danielle Hunter or even Jonathan Greenard, another guy to watch for with the Houston Texans. Jordan Brown says, I'm more intrigued. Good to see you, Jordan. He says, I'm more intrigued about the amount of safeties available. Simmons and Jesse Bates could be the best duo to ever do it, both in their prime. Sheesh. Justin's a little bit older. I think he's 31. But yeah, going through the list of guys, and there's some big names in here. Depending on how much you trust PFF, they're not necessarily prime players right now, which is one of the reasons why they're being released. They're not matching up with their contracts. But Justin Simmons, Jordan Poyer, Buffalo Bills, Jamal Adams, Kevin Byard, Quandre Diggs, Rashawn Jenkins, Eddie Jackson. I don't want nothing to do with Eddie Jackson after I watched him, ankle bite, go after Kyle Pitts' knees from behind in what should be an illegal tackle. Of all the tackles that they try and make illegal, going after somebody's knees from behind in the defensive secondary, you're not allowed to do that anywhere. You do that to a quarterback, it's flagged, you're fine. You do that as a chop block interior between the lines of scrimmage, you're flagged. It's a fine. I don't want anything to do with Eddie Jackson. He pissed me off. Joni, I'm going with that. Joni L. Cook. We need a safety and a quarterback. Yes, absolutely. Falcons need another safety to start. Maybe. I've got JL Skinner in my head from doing Broncos yesterday. The guy they got from Alabama, DeMarco Helms. They're both late round picks, safeties, tall guys. Maybe Helms can step into that role, but I'm not banking my job on it. especially as cheap as safeties are. I'm going to get a veteran or another draft pick. I'd rather, with the amount of veterans on there that are going to be available for cheap, I'd rather go veteran. Honestly, I'd rather go $3 to $5 million for a veteran safety and then see if DeMarco can beat him out. That'd be great. Cornerback's going to be a little tougher. Cornerback's going to be a little harder. Safety, if you want to go, we'll see what Jeff Okudah, what kind of market he has. Would you bring him back for the right price? I probably would. He needs to stay healthy. I'd probably bring him back for the right price. There will be some other options out there. I've had trouble getting safe corners. I really like in the mock drafts. So, do you use a cornerback and then watch for the stories? Oh, what does this mean for AJ Terrell? It means AJ Terrell has a partner because AJ Terrell is going to get his extension money. If not, he's going to get franchise tagged. So he's going to be a Falcon for a little bit longer. Safety and corner, absolutely Atlanta Falcons needs going into this offseason. That $150, and Jeremy says that $150 would be fully guaranteed to Cousins because Cousins doesn't do partials. Then he's not going to get it. I'll be shocked, absolutely shocked, if he can get $150 million guaranteed at his age coming off an injury. And I will slate and talk badly about any general manager who does that. I will be absolutely floored if he gets $150 million in guaranteed money. Or, at the very least, maybe it's a 5-year deal, 150, and you're still then going 3 years of $50 million. That's a lot. That's a lot. And absolutely no freaking way. No way. Because Keith says he's been signing fully guaranteed contracts. And, does he go away from that? I reference this all the time. Well, this is what he wants. Dark Knight Rises when Selena Kyle goes in, she's trying to get paid for this, and the guy says wants, doesn't get. I don't care what he wants is important. He's not retiring, is he? So it's about what he can get. And if somebody's stupid enough, and I'll say that about anybody, if somebody's stupid enough to give him $150 million guaranteed at 36 years old coming off an injury, they deserve all the flack that they're going to get. So besides fully guaranteed, fine. 1 year, $45 million guaranteed. I think he'd probably rather have a 2 years, 90 with 45 guaranteed, which gives you a 1 year option. And then if you're gone, you're gone. Then I'll be a free agent again. So be it. So we'll see on that. Tony Bradley says, if we get Cousins, it's a win now window. At Arthur Blank's age, he wants to win now and not wait. Yeah, absolutely. The question I have, and when you look at economics and all the money rises to the top, look at sports, look at the free agent market and look at the free market in sports. But I wonder, it's an exponential curve. The guys at the very top take by far the most money. Look at baseball. There's 3 or 4 guys taking up 75% of the money, and then there's a lot of guys in the middle making, good money for anybody else. But $4 or $5 million is 10% of what some of these other guys are making. Now, is this guy 10 times better than this guy down here? And what I mean by that is, would I rather have Kirk Cousins and a $40 million cap hit, or would I rather have Russell Wilson and a $2 million cap hit? Would I rather have Justin Fields and a $3 million cap hit? Probably, because I don't think he's exponentially better for the team than those guys. It limits what I'm able to do. I'd rather get 10 guys. I'd rather get 4 guys at $10 million than 1 at 40 when it comes to when I'm dealing with Kirk Cousins. Now, you put Patrick Mahomes on the board, yeah, I'll drop 50 on him. But Kirk Cousins isn't Patrick Mahomes. He's a good quarterback. He's not one of the best. He's not a total. He's a game changer for the Falcons, but he's not 25% of my salary cap good. Not for me. And Jordan Brown says, I'm done with thinking about the cap, considering how all these other teams keep building super teams and manipulating the cap. The Aints are great on it. Hopefully Terry Fontenot is also. But the Aints, it comes down to it, though. They've had their cap casualties, and they haven't been super in a while. And part of it is if I've got that number 1 quarterback, I can manipulate the cap for a little bit. So, and they got to be young. When your players that you're kicking the can down the road with constant restructures and extensions. When they're young, you can do that. I can lower my cap on Patrick Mahomes by giving him a $500 million contract. Patrick Mahomes is cap number right now is like 6th or 7th in the league, but he's got, the biggest contract in the history of football. But it's not. It is the manipulation that you're talking about. When that comes to fruition is when those guys start to decline and you still have a bunch of money in them. Ask the Denver Broncos, as the Atlanta Falcons, what's it like when you've got all of your money, guaranteed money, tied up into aging players, declining players like Matt Ryan, like Deion Jones, like Julio Jones? You're effed. You can't go out and do those type of things. Now, if I wanted to try and free up some money right now, I could redo Jesse Bates' contract right now, lower his cap hit by $7 million, and dump another year on his contract. I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. Instead of his contract expiring when he's 30, it's 31. I'm willing to take that risk. But you end up with guys like Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan's contract right now, Cam Jordan, we're going to talk about the Saints. He's got three years of void years. He's got void years when he's not even on the team. He's going to count in 2026, if they don't do anything else, he's going to count $15 million against the cap. That'll end up being close to 8 or 9%. That's a big chunk. His 2024 number right now is $13.8 million, his cap hit, because they've done all of these things. They've pushed the money down the road. What if they don't want Cam Jordan right now? What did he have? 2 sacks last year? They can't move on from Cam Jordan. He's got a $36 million dead cap hit. Either you keep him on your team at $13 million or you have to cut him at 36. Guess what? Cam's on the team, whether he can play or not at 36 years old. So it's not completely a myth. There is science to it and there's an art to it. Lee Johnson comes in and says, no doubt Bates is a top 3 safety in the league. Yeah, there's no positional value on game changers is how I like to put it. $16 million is too much for a safety. Not if they're playing like that, they're not. $18 million for Justin Simmons is too much for a safety. That's why he's cut, among other things. I just talking about the cap ramifications. Not worth it, but 5? Yeah. I like Justin Simmons a lot at $5 to $7 million paired next to, because he is the PFF numbers won't show it. He's good. He's physical. He's 6'2", 2 and change. But he's so smooth in coverage. And I think he's led the NFL interception since he's been in the league. I would love to see Justin Simmons paired with Jesse Bates. That could be a lot of fun. Of all these guys I mentioned, of the guys that have recently been waived, safeties, it's been a bloodbath for safeties. Jordan Poyer, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Justin Simmons is a guy I would want partnered next to Jesse Bates. Michael comes in, he says, I'd rather get Bryce Huff and Jonathan Greenard over Hunter. Both had 10 or more sacks last year. Michael, that's a good shout. It is. Can you get both of them, though? They might end up combining to be about 4. They might knock on the door at $20 million each, too. So I don't know that you can get both of those guys. It's going to be expensive. They're going to get paid. Greenard is going to get some money. So maybe, can you pull that off for 30 and Danielle Hunter would be 20? Maybe. I don't think anybody's getting both of those guys. 2 of these 3. I think it'll be awfully tough. And SW Graphics comes in and says, after signing Cousins, not much salary cap left, but they will have all of their picks. Yeah, that's not necessarily as big of as an immediate impact. Maybe your number 1 guy, maybe your second rounder can come in and help right away, but you're not able to go and plug the holes. The offense is okay. The offense is in pretty good shape. The Falcons have built an offense through the draft. The defense is going to need some immediate impact players, and those are hard to get in the draft to get multiple guys. if I get a rookie safety, I can get a rookie safety in the 3rd or 4th round, and that could be a starter. But would I rather have Justin Simmons for $5 million? Yeah, I would. I can go corner in the draft, but I'd probably rather spend a little money. If I'm in the win now mode, and I've got to be, if I'm I'm getting Kirk Cousins, I got to think win now. I need to spend some money on free agency. I need a more dependable wide receiver too. I need to spend a little bit more money, and that becomes tough with Cousins on there. Channel 404 coming in. I don't think I scrolled by this. He says, "Hey Scott, finally got to see a live show of yours. Huge Gen Z fan here as well. Well, good. Hopefully you appreciate the old guy. This is an old Gen Xer. I was having discussions about Gen Z and Gen X with my boomer father-in-law last night, which was fun, and how I think it's our fault that Gen Z doesn't do enough stuff on their own because we're sheltered them. Like my kids are soft." My kids are soft. If my kid had to get to school on his own, he'd have no idea how. I walked to school one time, 4 miles. I walked. I'd already ridden my bicycle all over Cobb County by the time I was 12 years old. So great to see you here. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the support. Channel 404. We all know that one, the 404. Robot of Doom coming in. He's a Twitch guy, but he's over here coming to see us on YouTube. Said, Scott, what was your prediction for where the top 10 free agents land? Man, that gets tough. It really does. I don't know if I look at this and I say, number 1 on ESPN's list is Chris Jones. I think he stays a Chief. Kirk Cousins, it's got to be Atlanta Falcons or Minnesota Vikings, doesn't it? Christian Wilkins, I always think the most likely thing to happen is that they're going to re-sign with their own team until proven otherwise. And I don't know enough about him. He's Miami Dolphins defensive tackle. There's some good defensive tackles in this class, including Grover Stewart up in Indianapolis. I just think the Falcons are solid. They're not going to need to spend premium money, use premium resources on a defensive tackle. On the interior line, they're good on the interior line. They go 4 deep there easy, before I even count serviceable players like LaCale London. Zach Harrison's 280-something pounds. Taquan Graham coming back from his injury, started coming back on it last year. David Onyemata played at a Pro Bowl level last year, and Grady Jarrett's a beast. We know that. So not too worried about the interior defensive line. That feels good to say, doesn't it? As I go back to the beginning of the show, we're talking about maybe taking 2 edges in this class or signing an edge and drafting one. We've never, ever, ever said in Atlanta, we've got too many pass rushers. Nobody says that anyway, but it's certainly not the Atlanta Falcons. Danielle Hunter at 4. The Bears put a big chunk of their cap into, they've got a ton of money left. They've been linked with a lot of these guys that the Bears have, and we'll see, because I think the team with the most money right now is Washington. Yeah, the Washington Commanders have $96 million in available cap space, but they've got a new coach. They've got big questions at quarterback. They should be okay with a rookie. Do they want to? They need to go after guys in their mid-20s. They're the ones that need to go spend on Jonathan Greenard, Huff, these guys, AJ Epinesa, these young guys. They don't need to go after the Chris Jones types, the guys in their 28 and above. They need to go get the Caden Ellis guys, the Jesse Bates guys that you can build with for the long term. And they're not always here on the top of these lists. Danielle Hunter, watch out for the Bears, watch out for the Commanders, watch out for the Falcons. Baker Mayfield is number 5. I still think he goes back to Tampa. It's just a good fit there. Robert Young, guard at 6. I don't know enough about the interior lineman, man, to know where he would end up. He's 28 years old. Miami Dolphins. Chase Young, San Francisco 49ers. They've got him at 7 as an edge, which is going to get him an 8-figure contract. Falcons fam, help me out with this. Do you want Chase Young at $12 million? I don't. I do not. The production is just not there. And I know we're talking about injuries, but he played healthy for a loaded San Francisco 49ers team and had 2.5 sacks the second half of the season. 4 years, Chase Young, 16.5 sacks. In 4 years, he has as many sacks as Danielle Hunter had last year. Like I said, I know he's battled injuries, but he still started 32 games, 43 games. He's still uber young. He'll turn 25, got the tools. But I don't trust him with that kind of money to invest in him. Defensive tackle, another one. Leonard Williams, big defensive tackle. Bryce Huff, edge. Kendall Fuller, corner. Coming off the Commanders, he's 30 years old. Fuller wouldn't be a bad way to go either. When we said Fuller at the very top. HS came in, asked about Tre'Varius White at corner. Someone DM'd me about this guy. There's been a pretty good fall off with Tre'Varius with White. I don't know if he's all that great anymore. SW Graphics says we need a strong backup center with starting experience. Kind of tough to do sometimes. I had mentioned as a possible replacement for Lloyd Cushenberry in Denver, Matt Hennessy. Matt Hennessy is that guy. He is a backup center with starting experience. He's a free agent coming off an injury. We didn't get to see him, was competing for the left guard spot. Matt Hennessy would be the guy. If I was in a Seattle Seahawks chat right now, SW Graphics, and you said, hey, Scott, do you know of any free agent centers available that are pretty good, that have starting experience? I say, yeah, take a look at Matt Hennessy. That's how I would look at that one. Let me make sure. Another one just came in. Oblivion Empire just came in. He says, Bills, AJ, which is AJ Epinesa, who he first brought to my attention, Oblivion Empire did, is, hey, what about this guy? And I looked up the numbers. I'm like, yeah, that becomes really interesting because I think you can get him for under 10. AJ Epinesa and pick up one of the top edge rushers in the draft. I like that idea. And if you go, I think Epinesa is underrated, honestly. If I go Epinesa, he's 58. Just entering his prime years. He's 58 on the list of top 100 guys for ESPN. He was a backup guy, but so was it Samson Ebukam from San Francisco last year, and he had a great season for the Colts and didn't break the bank. He was a $10 to $12 million guy. I think Epinesa could be very similar coming off his age 25 season as a backup, had 6.5 sacks for Buffalo last year. 6'6", 260 pounds, strong. I like Epinesa. I think you could do a lot worse there for sure. I am coming slow. I'm actually like a half hour behind on some of the comments. So when I show these comments, they're from a long time ago. So I apologize. I'm trying to get to, the folks that came in earlier and watching. And thanks, Jay. Jay says, Alex Simmons, check this out. Been watching this page for a while. Gives unbiased analysis on where we are and what we should do. Bird Gang, ATL. Jay, everybody's biased. I kind of joke now. Everybody's biased. It's what makes up your personality. So I'm definitely biased. I'm absolutely biased. I'm a jaded old Atlanta sports fan. I think my teams are never going to get anybody and we're always going to lose. And I'm cynical as hell. That's my bias. I like big wide receivers. I'm biased there too. I like trenches. I'm biased there. I think spending too much money on a quarterback is detrimental to the building of a team. I'm biased there. Those are my biases. Now, I'm not going to tell you I'm right, but those are my biases, Jay. So when it comes to why would you want Justin Fields? Because my bias is I'm adverse to risk. The risk reward needs to be there. Why would you want Justin Fields? He stinks. He's a bust. One, I disagree. I still think of him as a prospect. He's 25 years old and has been in a bad situation. So I think there's still something there. And two, he's freaking cheap. I like that. I like potential with upside and cheap. I'm willing to take that shot. $40 million of Kirk Cousins scares the hell out of me. Now, I can get behind it because he's a good quarterback and your team got a lot better. Those are my biases. So we'll see on that. Michael Ranquillo, good to see you. Coming in, we had a surprise. We went Falcons podcast with this because it was just going to be me. And like I said, because the support has been so great, I wasn't going to do a coast to coast when it was just one coast. We're going to talk Falcons today. Terry Ocean Boy Martin, it feels like it's been a while since we've seen you. Great to see you, my friend. He says, good morning from West Palm Beach. Lucky you. Hopefully that weather that's a little north of you that's about to pound us this weekend is staying nice and mid-80s. Nice humidity. People knock the humidity. I tell you what, a humid night in South Florida is one of the best feelings there is. Humidity in the sun sucks. But a humid night, you go out and it's like 80 degrees and humid with breeze and it's dark. So it feels like a warm bath. It feels awesome. West Palm, hope you're having fun there. Chris Walker, good morning, Scott. TGIF, absolutely. It's Friday, and it's actually for Fulton County kids. It's a 4-day weekend, so long weekend for us. Robot of Doom says, why do I think Simmons goes either to San Francisco, Cincinnati, or Dallas? There's something there. Again, a team that when we were talking about Robot of Doom's a Broncos fan, we're talking about if Pat Surtain's going to get traded, what are the teams that are struggled a little bit on defense, but we're right there? Man, watch the Detroit Lions. Who wouldn't want to go play? If I'm Justin Simmons and I see the wreckage of that defense that really struggled, I can help them. They're a snap of the fingers away from a Super Bowl, and I can make them better. They should be there's my bias again. We're all biased. The Detroit Lions are a player away from a Super Bowl. Now, I'm like predicting a Super Bowl if they get Justin Simmons. No, I'm not. But when I'm looking at Fitz as a veteran player who has been with the Denver Broncos for 7 years without a winning season, I think he may have had a winning season in his first year. He's been around 7-8 years, but he's been a lot of losing. Made his money. He's gotten paid. He's on this will be not his second contract. He's made his money. You're willing to take a discount to go win. Man, I would take a hard look at the Detroit Lions as well. Philly makes sense for me. I love the Dallas Cowboys uniforms. He'd look pretty good with a star. San Francisco, I don't know what they need there, but you can be able to go you'll be able to get Justin Simmons at a pretty good discount. 5 to 7 is what I predict. We'll see. Someone gives him 10, that'll surprise me, but 5 to 7 sounds about right. Mason, love the dog. My goodness, what a great picture. Been listening to you guys and Nick for a while on my work commute. Nice to put faces to the show. You guys do great. Well, thank you. Appreciate you coming in. And love. I'm a huge animal lover. Just had the discussion with my daughter this morning of, why we don't deserve dogs. I was like, it's a phrase. She says, like, dog spelled backwards is God. I'm like, remember that. They're godly. So good to see you. Chris Walker says, with us going to a 3-4 to agree, linebacker will become a bigger need despite improved play at the position last season. Yeah, they were it was a strange hybrid type system last year where it was 4-man front, but it was 3 interior linemen and a stand-up edge. So it was 3 big guys and then Bud Dupree. So do you shift at and I think they're multiple enough in their schemes that you'll see, 2 edge rushers on the field more than we've seen in the past. And the Falcons have a number 2 right now. Bud Dupree did a good job last year. He did. He wasn't a pass rusher, but he got after it. Bud Dupree was good. He was a good signing for the Atlanta Falcons. But let's get younger. Let's get better. Ebiketie took a step from year 1 to year 2. Needs to take another step to year 3. He wasn't a first-round guy. He was a second-round guy. And a second-round guy is an edge. I don't have the expectations for him that he's going to be a tier 1 edge rusher. He can be a 6 or 7 sack guy as a number 2 and do a job against run. Great. But it's a need. It is absolutely a need. James Edwards coming in. He says, totally agree. Atlanta has great options at quarterback, draft, and free agency. A very good problem to have. Can't remember the first time the Falcons have had this problem. Russ and Fields for $4 million, no brainer. Now, if it's Russ it will be Russ and a rookie. It won't be Russ and Fields. I don't see that happening. It won't be Russ and another veteran. Russ will go to a place where he doesn't have to compete with a veteran for the starting spot. Fields won't have a choice because he will be traded. So Russ will pick a place where he can say he's not guaranteed, but, where he's going to be the presumed starter going in. And that's not going to happen. He's not going to go to compete with Justin Fields. That's not what he's going to do as a free agent for the first time in his life. Now, if you say we're going to come in, Russ, we're going to do this, but we're probably going to draft a quarterback. Okay, so be it. I've got 2 or 3 years left in my career. I can beat out this rookie and then hand the keys over. Fine. So, but it won't be Russ and Fields, but Russ and a rookie, or Fields and $50 million in salary cap space. Russ, a rookie draft pick, and $50 million in free agent money. I like it. Tony Bradley, good to see you. Appreciate you being here. Chris Weatherington, how are you doing, my friend? He says, Danielle Hunter and Dallas Turner sign Russell Wilson for cheap and try Penix in the second round if available. I'm in. Penix isn't going in the first. The medicals are too scary on him. He may drop into the third just because, all of the injuries that have gone with him. So we'll see on that. But in this case, you've got Danielle Hunter, Dallas Turner, you signed Russell Wilson. You still got another $40 million in free agency money to get your cornerback to get your safety, to get a wide receiver too. Now, I like drafting the wide receivers, but the Falcons need 3 wide receivers. So go get a good, dependable Gabe Davis type of a veteran in free agency. I don't want to spend more than 10 on a guy in free agency because the draft is deep, and then get 2 wide receivers in the draft. Fire Dog 252. You know who became the Fire Dog was Fred McGriff when the Atlanta Braves press box caught on fire. If you're old enough to remember that, Fire Dog Fred McGriff. My son got 27 this year, his first year in high school. I'm like, dude, that's the Fire Dog. So good to see you. Good morning, Scott. Really enjoy the podcast. Finally made it live. Would Bryce Huff be an option in free agency? Interesting. It's the second time we've had this question. So I don't think I bounced back to the top. Did I? So because there's some repeat discussions in here, like Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates would be the best tandem in the NFL. Yeah, they'd be pretty damn good. Bryce Huff would be an option. Young. I'm not ready to advocate for him because I've watched the Jets and I don't remember him being the guy. Despite the 10 sacks, I don't know if it was just numbers or how good he is. I can always look at what PFF says. They're a guide. They're not the Bible, so to speak. But, I referenced Malik Reed with the Denver Broncos, who got 8 sacks a year but couldn't keep a job because he couldn't set an edge and wasn't beating guys in front of him. Now, Bryce Huff with an 80 player grade, his run defense was a 48, okay, and his pass rush was an 87. So designated pass rusher, maybe. You got a one-trick pony, sacking the quarterback's a pretty good one to have. So more 4-man fronts with him coming in pass rush situations. Definitely an option. We're running long here. I've gone an hour or 2 already. I want to scroll down to the very bottom. I know I missed some of y'all in the middle. So want to apologize. There's a lot of folks in here, but I want to go and see some folks that have come in here at the very end before we get out of here. Because Ryan Adonis, one of the OGs, want to make sure we say hello. I see Jay Roper in the chat too. And he says, are we not worried that Danielle Hunter will be another Ray Edwards signing? I wasn't worried about that because I don't remember Ray Edwards. So I would be worried that a guy would be Ray Edwards. Danielle Hunter has had sustained success. I don't remember Ray Edwards, dude. I apologize. So that would be a bad thing. But he's, Danielle Hunter has been good. I mean, he had one injury season in 2021. He only played 7 games. But since he's come in the league and been a starter, he wasn't a full-time starter in 2015, 2016. But starting in his second year, he had 6 sacks as a rookie, 12.5 sacks, 7, 14.5, 14, 6 and 7 games. That was 2021 where he got hurt. And he's played 17 the last 2, 10.5, 16.5. 90 games, 87.5 sacks. Man, there's risk in everything you do. But that's a guy I'm interested in. That's a guy I feel pretty good about. I feel like I'm mitigating my risk with a guy that has had this type of sustained success, and he's still young-ish. Again, if I'm willing to give him 3 years, that takes him to the same age. If I give him 3 years of guaranteed money, that takes him to the same age that Khil Mack was this year when Khil had a career high in sacks. I'm okay paying an edge guaranteed money until he's 32 years old. I'm okay with that. You would love to see Danielle Hunter in a Falcons uniform. I believe that. Now, again, there's risk in everything. And Ray Edwards was the high-priced defensive end we signed from the Vikings and was a complete bust. He had to be. Now, let me look. Ray Edwards. Again, Are you worried about, you worried about drafting a corner? Because he doesn't even show up in Pro Football Reference. Ray Edwards, DT. Oh, there's two of them. So Ray Edwards coming in, y'all, before he signed as a 25-year-old, and he had numbers very similar to what I said about Malik Reed. 3 sacks, 5 sacks, 5 sacks, 8.5, 8, and then 3.5 with Atlanta in 2011. Yeah, very unmemorable. I don't even remember him in that signing back then. So I feel much, much better about Danielle Hunter being a success on his next contract than I would about this guy. So again, going back to the Bryce Huff discussion or AJ Epinesa, I think there's more risk involved there for Jonathan Greenard taking the next step as a full-time number one. Danielle Hunter is a number one. He's been a number one. He's going to cost you more because there's less risk. There's been more production too, is the other part of that. So listen, y'all, I'm going to get out of here. I certainly appreciate you being here. We've gone about an hour 5. My throat's starting to give out. I didn't sneeze, so that was a bonus. Want to say thank you to my Super Chat superstars, Oblivion Empire, Channel 404. Oblivion Empire came in twice. Thank you, my friend. Silas Draven coming in with the support for the show. Want to say thank you so much. Terry coming in. I'm going Caden Ellis and Nate Landeman. I call him Landeman all the time. Nate Landeman also re-signed. I think he was like an exclusive rights free agent. That was a little bit of news. He signed a new contract and has absolutely earned it. He played fantastic last year in a emergency starter role for Troy Anderson coming in as a chess piece. Yeah. Troy Anderson could be a wild card on defense with his athleticism, which is next level. So I think the Falcons are pretty good at the linebacker position. That's nice to say. Right up the middle, interior defensive line, linebacker, and one of the safeties, the spine of that Falcons defense is pretty solid, which is good news. I can't help but just get into these. T-Baby says, great to see you. This feels like a newer name too. We should trade up in the draft for the number 3 spot. Take Drake May. Also, free agency Simmons and White at defensive backs are top priority. I don't think you can get to 3, T-Baby, and I still think Drake May is going number 2. Either way, Jaden Daniels, I'd be okay with trading up if it was what The Athletic proposed last week. I think that was last week. It may have been earlier this week. It was something like number 8, a 2025 number 1, and then a 3rd, and then you get a 4th back or something. That's not enough, man. That's not enough to get up to number 3 in this draft. It's going to cost you 3 number 1s. I don't know that I want to trade 3 number 1s to move up when you could possibly sit at 8. And if you really wanted a quarterback, I'd rather have J.J. McCarthy at 8 than 3 firsts and for Drake May. If it misses, man. Now, the 2025 draft doesn't look awesome, and that happens every so often. There's just drafts that don't look great. The Steve Entman number 1 way back when from the Wayback Machine, that was a pretty poor draft. I remember that one because that was the year the Falcons traded Brett Favre to the Packers for their number 1, and the Falcons used that number 1 pick on running back Tony Smith out of Southern Miss, who was out of the NFL in 2 years. And you look at who they could have gotten, and it's not good. It wasn't good. So sometimes trading for one of those futures isn't that great. Trading up to number 3 is going to be prohibitively expensive for me in this draft because the top 3 quarterbacks in this draft are considered better prospects than anybody in last year's draft. Now, you hope one of them turns in and has a type of season CJ Stroud has, but I'm not hindsight grading. Otherwise Brock Purdy would have gone higher than Kenny Pickett. I'm not hindsight grading. You're talking about where they were going in. All 3 of the quarterbacks, the top 3 quarterbacks in this draft, are rated higher than Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. All 3 of them. All 3 of the picks in the top 3 right now want quarterbacks. So in order to move up, I got to talk somebody out of that wants a quarterback and has a better prospect available to them than anybody in last year's class. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really tough. Norflex, good to see you. It says history will not repeat. The Falcons this year, and I still believe we should have taken Jalen Carter. Yeah, that was the pick I wanted in that spot. I'll go back and tell y'all, my picks at the time, since I've been doing this podcast, 2021, I wanted to trade back desperately. I would have gone Justin Fields at 4. My next pick in that spot was going to be Penei Sewell, who is maybe the best offensive tackle in football right now. But trade back was the huge option. I did not want Kyle Pitts at all because I thought he would be wasted with where the team was set up right then. The next year, again, I still didn't trust the offensive line at the time and the infrastructure, and the best player available to me was Kyle Hamilton, all-pro safety. I would have gone there. I think Drake London's been a good pick. I would have gone Jalen Carter last year at number 8, but I think Bijan Robinson's been a good pick. But I would have gone Bijan there in that spot. And Ryan says Jalen Carter's still a problem in the locker room. Maybe, but it's a pretty good risk. Bijan's a good pick. He is. And Drake London was a good pick. So on that note, I am going to get out of here. We're about an hour 10. I'm going to be hoarse the rest of the day. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. If you're just watching for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're listening after the fact, or if you've come in to say hello, give me a rating on Spotify. I love those 5 stars. I can't really say hello on those, but I certainly look at them to check. The Spotify ratings are higher than the Apple Pod ratings right now. So as far as numbers. So I appreciate everybody being here. Michael Ronquillo, have a great weekend. Glad you made it in today. That's all I got. Hopefully we'll have some news because free agency starts, as far as I'm concerned, at noon on Sunday. We'll be back on Monday. Hope to see you there. Y'all have a hell of a football weekend.